Hello guys and welcome to another week of the Magical Readathon. So this is week 3 of Magical Readathon. I once again have to read 1200 pages this week in order to reach my reading goals, and I have so far determined that in terms of my audiobooks this week I'm going to be focusing on the two shortest audiobooks on my list. So that will be Queen Bee by Juno Dawson and the Kawogama Food Detectives. I'm not entirely sure by who that is. So those are two around 200 page books. I think both of them are 201 pages, which means that they should be going by pretty quickly. It's even possible that I'll need another audiobook later within the week to make sure that I still have something, but probably not. I'm not entirely sure how long they're going to be, but I think that I'll have it'll just be like my commute and a little bit extra probably. I don't need to go for another one probably. And then the physical read that I'm mainly going to be focusing on throughout this week is a book that I'm definitely looking forward to, because I haven't seen many people talk about this, and that is 7 Recipes for Revolution by Ryan Rose. This is The Bear Meets Attack on Titan, so it is a culinary revolution story. This is hard mode for r/fantasy in case you need a book about a revolution that is not like I don't even remember how it is explained, but like not a revolution within an empire or something like that, you know. So this is a revolution within the kitchen, so definitely fits that hard mode. It is also for Herkiet going to be my July release, which means I need to finish this before Friday. Maybe on Friday. I have to properly check that, but I think I calculated, like I looked it up at one point, and I have to finish this one before the 19th of September or on the 19th of September. So I need to get a move on because yeah, I don't have a ton of time. But so yes, it's Sunday evening. I'm going to start with a little bit of reading in this already at this point in time, and yeah, hopefully it's going to work out very well. Hopefully I'm going to be flying through it, but I'm not going to be reading too much in it today. But so yeah, if the last few weeks have been any indication, I'll probably only talk to you guys in like on Friday, but hopefully I'll update you guys at least about this book a little bit earlier in the week, so at least gives you some of my earlier thoughts in the book before giving you my final thoughts when I'm finished with it. Hello! My hair is looking very disheveled. With my cat not being the best and like having to plan a vet visit, I've actually basically been postponing going to the hairdressers, which I definitely need to plan because this hair is getting way too long, and when it gets too long it starts standing in every direction clearly. So it is Friday. I had every intention this week of actually informing you guys earlier because I've actually finished 2 books since the start of the week, and so I plan to give you updates for those earlier, but that hasn't happened. But so yes, I have finished my 2 audiobooks for the week. So I've finished Queen Bee by Juno Dawson, and then I've also finished the Kawogama Food Detectives. Now there's an issue with the Kawogama Food Detectives because in my mind, the Kawogama Food Detectives was like a detective novel where, I don't know, like a restaurant owner had to solve crime, but it isn't at all. It is not crime, and I have I've chosen this book for the genre spin, where you spin for a genre and then you read a book from that genre, which is crime in this case. And it does have detective in the title. It is detective work that is happening, so part of me is like, maybe I could stretch it, but then again, I probably should just use a scroll for it. I have more than enough points to use a scroll for it. But so let's first talk about Queen Bee. So Queen Bee is a novella that is taking place within the Her Majesty's Royal Coven world, but it is basically taking place centuries before. Basically, Her Majesty's Royal Coven is a coven, a UK-based coven that was originated in the times of Anne Boleyn, and so this Queen Bee novella is going to look at the origins of Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and so at the storyline surrounding Anne Boleyn. I enjoyed it, but I just love the Her Majesty's Royal Coven books more. So I did enjoy it, and I was happy being back in this world. I think the audiobook, I personally love the audiobooks for these. I think that they're read by Nicola Coughlan, I think her name is, and so I think that she does a really good job. But I know that Barbora from the channel Bookworm Wonder had a much harder time with it because there's like a lot of breaks, a lot of pauses that are being taken. And I think that also has to do with how you read it. If you're immersion reading where you're reading physically alongside with listening to the audiobook, it might not work because indeed your brain is going to be reading ahead, and so the pauses that are taken are going to be quite annoying. Whereas if you're just listening to it without having the physical copy, I feel like it adds a little bit of interpretation to the story, though yes, sometimes there are quite some severe pauses that might frustrate some readers. I enjoy the audiobook because you get a real sort of like, you know, like a clear accent work in it, so it kind of immerses me into the story a little bit more. But so yes, I enjoyed it, but it's also, as indicated, it's just a novella, and I didn't necessarily need it. I didn't need this origin story. I did enjoy it, but it's not like what I enjoy the most about Her Majesty's Royal Coven. So I enjoy the longer books more, and the modern storylines that we're getting there more than I enjoyed this particular one. And then I have also finished the Kawogama Food Detectives, which is a story in which it's basically a sort of like series of short stories, as so often happens with Japanese translated literature. And so it's basically about this restaurant that also serves as a detective agency, but the detective work that is happening there is a search into recipes. So basically you can contact the Kawogama Food Detective Agency if you are in search of a particular recipe. And so not just any recipe, not just like, hey, I want a spaghetti carbonara and I don't know how to make it, but if you basically go into the agency, you want to find back the flavor, the particular flavor of the spaghetti carbonara that your mother used to make, and then you have to like fill in, like answer all of these questions surrounding everything that you can still remember about the dish, and then they try to recreate it specifically the way that your mother would have created it. And so it is a love letter to the culinary arts, to the emotional attachments of food as well. So a lot of these stories we will look at like the reasons why people want to try this particular taste again, and they're very often linked to, you know, like an emotional memory or to wanting to reconnect with a person who can no longer really access their memories as well. And so each particular story will be looking at a person and their search, and through that process you get to find out like why are they interested in recreating this recipe. You get to see their reaction to getting to eat it again, and you get to see like the detective work that went into figuring out the clues, because the clues are always very scarce in these cases. I do feel like it is very like it's surface level. It's very meditative because I enjoy that sort of like spiritual nature of food and sort of the attention to details given to food within this book. It made me so crave Japanese foods, but it is also like you don't go super deep into the characters or anything like that. Of course, these are strangers talking to one another, and while they do talk about profound things, it is not like they're gonna dive super deep into it, because this is still a relationship between two strangers. And so there is still this like customer versus seller sort of like interaction that is limited in how deep it can go. I don't hold that against it, but it's like just for you to know what to go into. It's like it's not super deep. We don't get to find out much about what happened with these characters afterwards, which is actually probably my main gripe. There were certain cases where I felt like we were setting up a link between two things that were mentioned, and then it's never mentioned. So it's for you to interpret that, I guess, as being like, I think that this character is actually this person, but it was never actually spelled out. Or there's this sort of thing like at the end of each chapter, the person wants to pay for the services rendered, but they're like basically saying that they are free to choose however much they want to pay. And part of me kind of did want to see like how much they were getting for this, but we never get that information, you know, like that phrase is repeated after every story, just like, oh yeah, just give whatever you can, give whatever you think that this service is worth, and here are our bank details. But we never get to see how much they were actually given by particular characters, because there are certainly characters who are more well off than others, and so you're kind of wondering like how much they would have given for this or not. So I enjoyed it, but that is also about it. But I'm happy that I enjoyed it because in principle it is one of these Japanese healing fiction type of books that hasn't really been working all that well for me, and that this one once again works very well for me. And so I think it is also just like, it's a new thing. It is healing fiction, but it's a healing fiction that, you know, like takes a different angle than the others that I've read, because of none of them having really been due to like having been really linked to like the culinary scene. But I will also say, like, if you are diving into this book because of the cat on the cover, the cat is there and the cat gets mentions regularly throughout the book, but the cat is definitely not a main player. The cat is basically just a cat that hangs around the restaurant, and occasionally throughout the book will try to enter. But so yes, I've been enjoying that, but my main assignment this week has been 7 Recipes for Revolution, and tonight is the final night that I have to read this, because this is a book that I'm also reading for Herkyet, for the prompt to read a July release within 60 days of its release date, and we are on that 60th day, so I still have 121 pages to read in it, I think, at this point in time. It's a lot. I do read quite quickly in this book, but I do also feel like the last 2 nights I've been really tired, and so sitting down to read, I just haven't been reading as quickly, and I've been growing tired much quicker, so I haven't been able to get to the page counts that I was hitting in the beginning of the week. Potentially because throughout this entire week I've been reading in the morning and I've been reading in the evening, so I've been like really maximizing my reading time, and maybe my brain is kind of rebelling and saying like, what are you doing? Because I am not behind. You know, the previous 2 weeks I was behind when we came to Friday. I'm still ahead. I have kept ahead. Yesterday, barely, I think. I was still 40 pages ahead at the end of that day, but definitely the first 2 days I was actually extending my lead. So yeah, I'm still ahead. So I've definitely kept up the pace throughout the week, but my brain is also saying like, help. But so 7 Recipes for Revolution is a book in which we're looking at this character who is a commoner, and he's working at a butchery basically. He is butchering what are basically super big cows, or bulls is probably a nicer way to refer to it. And this is quite gruesome because basically they're carving up these bulls while they are alive without any sedation. And these the meat that comes off of these bulls is basically used in recipes that can then enhance the powers of the elite, which are called the rare within this world. And so he very early on is kind of thrown in the sort of like dodgier side of society by being given a piece of stolen meat and being introduced to these powers that one can acquire by eating this type of meat. And so he very early on unlocks this desire to become a chef and to be able to make his own recipes with this meat. However, the only way to enter into the academy as a commoner is to make a greater recipe. So a recipe that hasn't been made before that unlocks some sort of a new power. And he enters into this sort of like illegal market where he stumbles upon an ingredient that helps him make this greater recipe, but that of course pulls everybody's attention to him, and he becomes a sort of like core figure within the story. You know, the elite have their eye on him, initially are unsure whether they want to punish him or train him, and then the sort of like rebels within the society also have their eye on him because they want him as a sort of like figurehead for their rebellion. And this story is also told as a retrospective, so we actually start off seeing our protagonist, the butcher, as he's on trial for a lot of crimes and as he's about to retell all of his past events to clear his name. I really enjoyed this book, and I enjoyed the culinary aspect of it, so I've been reading 2 books that very much feature a lot of culinary references. The fantasy one, of course, is much more sort of like made up recipes, but a lot of it, of course, refers to real life ingredients. So even though I'm a vegetarian, so the meat section of it does not really appeal to me me. I do enjoy getting to have all these culinary references within the book, and that is also the reason why I was interested in this book, because this is sold as like the Bear meets Attack on Titan. I have not really read many culinary fantasies, I don't think so, so it sounded like something that would interest me, and I really enjoy reading the descriptions of the food and looking at this sort of like magic that unlocks through recipes and the different uses of this product. But so yes, I have about 120 pages to go in that, so I need to get my ass moving on it. But so, this weekend we have another Climates Reading Challenge weekend. For this weekend I'm deciding to do the same as I did last weekend, which is basically give myself 4 tasks, assign 4 rewards to them, and then also a few smaller tasks I'm also giving myself a reward for if I do them. For this weekend I decided to go much more sort of like practical and less sort of like focused on reading live. So I left off all of the filming and editing goals. I should still do them, but I left them off as being sort of like obligations for this weekend. I only put 1 reading goal in there, which is to read the 7 recipes for revolution in time, so tonight, fit that goal, and then I am happy with what I've achieved reading wise. And then the actual goals for this weekend are to contact my bank. My bank contact person contacted me 3 weeks ago, I think, and I've been procrastinating on responding to him. To buy gifts. My dad's birthday was yesterday, my mother's birthday was a while ago, and I still have to buy her a gift, and then my sister's birthday is next week, so I should be buying gifts for all 3 of them so that I'm set when it comes to that. And then the final goal, right? I still have a goal. What is my final goal again? Good question. And the final goal is to go to the cinema. So I have a subscription to the cinema, but I'm not getting anything out of it at the moment. I'm losing money on it, and at this point in time I've lost quite a fair bit of money on it, and so I'm like, no, I need to go to the cinema many times to make sure that I have earned back the money I invested in it, and then we can cancel it. So for this weekend and next weekend I'm putting cinema visits on my sort of like to-do list and giving myself a reward for doing them in order to ensure that I actually go, because the problem with the subscription is that I cannot book my ticket ahead of time. I have to go to the cinema and then get my tickets, but that means that, you know, like if I'm being a little bit lazy, which I'm typically always am, I don't have this sort of incentive to go, because I'm like, nah, I'll just go another day. Whereas before I was just buying my ticket like a week ahead of time, and then by the time that Sunday would hit, for example, you know, I'd already have my ticket, so it was like, yeah, no, I have to go. And that incentive has been lost now, and that apparently really isn't working for me. So yes, I hope that with this goal and with knowing that I can only get a reward if I complete that goal, I will be able to go to the cinema. But so yes, that is the intention. Those are the plans for the weekend. Let's just get on into the weekend itself. Hello, I'm wearing the same outfit, but I am here from a different day. So yesterday evening, without further ado, I finished 7 recipes for revolution. So I managed my deadline. I finished this before the 20th of September, which meant that I finished this within the 60 days of its publication. So yay, the July Hurricane challenge is done. The August one, as I said, was already done. So we are back on track. I just need to make sure that next month I read the September one, so that I just always like am like 1 month, like not really behind, but you know what I mean, so that I don't get too far behind and I don't get too close to that 60-day deadline as I did for this time, because it definitely was a chore last night. I was aided because I was watching the sprints of Denise from Chaos in the Enchanted Forest, and something went wrong with the timer there. So in the end, apparently we got like a 70-minute timer that looked as if it was a 45-minute timer. And in the beginning of this sprint, I was like, whoa, I am reading so fast. Like, that sprint has only been going on for 10 minutes and I've already feel like I've read like 10 pages or so in that time. So that's like the 1 minute a page pace that people are always talking about and that I never reach. But then like it did at some point become clear to me that there must be something wrong with the timer, because that there was no way that I was reading at the speed that I seem to be reading at. But so because of that, I got a lot of pages read in that one sprint, and then it became clear to me like, yes, I am able to do this. Like after that sprint, I only had like some 20 pages left. So yeah, I did a lot of reading yesterday and I finished this one. And my overall thoughts are that I like this one. I do feel like in its execution, it isn't always as strong. Like there are also very small things, like there are editing errors. On the first page, there's already like an error in the text somewhere. And there are a few throughout the book that I've noticed, which I found a little bit annoying, because I'm just like, yeah, there are things that, you know, like somebody reading this through for the first time should have been able to catch these, because there are things like a word missing here or there, you know. But okay, leaving that aside, I think that I like this concept a whole lot. I like this world a lot, but I do feel like there are some moments within the entire plot line that I felt were not as well executed as I would have liked them to be, but I'm very much intrigued and I do want to continue on with the rest of the series, and hopefully it'll just like improve upon that a little bit more. You know, like I do like the world and I love this sort of like culinary fantasy deal going on. I love getting to enthuse about cooking while reading a fantasy book. I definitely did love that a whole lot. And the point of future that we're actually reading from turns out to be even further than this first book. So I guess the future timeline is going to be like, if this is going to be a trilogy, because I don't even know whether it's going to be a trilogy or a duology, but if this is going to be a trilogy, then I'm assuming that our future timeline is like, we'll catch up to it somewhere in book 3, or maybe like at the end of book 2, and book 3 is gonna take it from the end of that book or something like that. But yes, it had an interesting ending, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing on. But that meant that I am no longer fully sure what reward matches up with which reward, with which like task. But I think for that one I earned like a night without reading, which will be my Sunday evening normally. And then I've also unlocked the cheat meal, and I think I did that this morning, because this morning I went and bought gifts for my parents and for my sister's birthday. I actually already bought a Christmas gift as well, so I bought those gifts. So for that I unlocked the cheat meal, and then I also unlocked another reward for contacting my bank. And for that I got the reward to read, to buy a book, and so I bought this book. So I bought Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, which is a haunted house story with a protagonist who has my name. So I just had to do it. Like I was debating, there was like a Nicole Jarvis book there, which I was like, oh yeah, I really want that book. But I am going to be reading, hopefully, if I still have the time, I want to read another book by her still this month, because Charlotte from the channel Clumsy Charlotte is reading it for her newly established book club. And so I would love to like still fit that in this month, but if maybe you can also just like jump over into October, it won't be that much of a deal. But so since I'm reading another Nicole Jarvis now, I was like, yeah, I probably won't be reading, like I probably won't be picking up this other Nicole Jarvis if I've so recently read another book by her. So it might be a book that would then linger on my TBR for for a while. Then I was considering picking up the second book in the Paladin's Grace series, but then I was like, okay, yeah, I could do that, but that's also not like a super exciting purchase, considering I get to like buy a book and I didn't really have any plans for what I was gonna buy. So in the end I was like, ideally I'm picking up something that is like horror related, because that would be perfect for the season. And then I spotted this one and I was like, oh yeah, perfect. This is something ideal for the month of October, and the protagonist has my name, so hopefully I'll enjoy that aspect to it as well. But so, yeah, 3 tasks done. I'm really trying to figure out what the third reward is that I actually already have. So the cheat meal, the buy a book for myself, and oh yeah, and the night off for, I don't know for what, which one of which I got the cheat meal for, but I got the cheat meal for, maybe for buying the gifts probably. But so yeah, those are the 3 tasks that I've already done. The final task will be tonight, which is to go to the cinema, and then for that one I will get the reward of buying a bag of crisps, which I will hopefully buy on the way back home, and then I'll enjoy some crisps at home afterwards. But so yes, I am up to there. I'm currently reading Green Dot by Madeline Gray, which I've actually enjoyed quite a fair bit. This is about an Australian woman who basically likes to learn, but has never really had much of an ambition for working. However, money is a thing of our world, and so unfortunately, due to capitalism, she does have to find some way to sustain herself in life. And so in the end, she ends up getting a 9-to-5 job, and her observations about, you know, like company culture, office culture are quite funny from somebody who also has a 9-to-5 job. But so yes, that's what I've been enjoying so far, and now it is time for me to do some filming, potentially editing. I forgot to load my batteries, so unfortunately I am a little bit late to filming because it is 2:30 and I should have a video go out in 3 hours. So let me quickly film and edit something so that you guys have a video coming out. But I have a few videos that I want to film, but some of them are going to be quite short, I assume. Hello, it is Monday after work, and so I'm here to round up the vlog for you. I think it will be an update heavy vlog and not a lot of b-roll within this one. But so yes, on Sunday, I mean, I should talk about the remainder of Saturday probably, but you will have seen that I was able to award myself with some beignets. I also went to the cinema. I went to see the Tasters, which is about Hitler's food tasters. I cried twice. So success, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, definitely. It's not very like true to life. A lot of it is kind of like invented because we know very little about these women. We don't really fully even know if they are true, if this is a true story or not. Like, there's just one woman who came forward in the 90s saying that she had been at his that this was like her role during the war, but there are like no collaborating pieces of information or of facts or of evidence. So it's just her word that we have for that has ever happened, and no proof has so far been found. But so a lot of it is just like, yeah, there we don't know much, and this movie definitely also imagined a lot of things that are not part of her accounting of her life. So yeah, it's definitely like take it with a grain of salt in the cases. Like, don't take this as a true to life story, but I enjoyed it a lot as a piece of fiction. And then on Sunday, I had sprints in the morning, and then I managed to get to the necessary page count for the day in order to be able to continue in that evening and have my reward, which was the evening without reading. So I went to my parents' place for lunch. We had Chinese. I had an amazing time with that, and then in the evening I got to enjoy doing nothing in terms of reading. So I did still edit a video in the evening, and then I spent the rest of the evening watching Downton Abbey. We had basically talked a little bit about Downton Abbey just by chance, because it was like popping up on the Netflix group or something like that, and then I was saying like that it was, and it was like popping up as something that was in cinema at the moment, and then I was like asking my mother whether she was going to go, because I know that she watched all of Downton Abbey. And then in the evening, when I was trying to think of what I was going to watch, I was like, you know what, maybe I should just retry Downton Abbey. I did, when it was like still new, I watched the beginning of Downton Abbey, and at some point I fell off, but I'm not entirely, like, I don't think that I really grew tired of it. I think it's just more of a thing that I just didn't keep up with it at some point, and so I want to give it another go. Let's see if we make it further. Let's see if we fall off again at some point. I am already spoiled for some major things within this series, but so yes, that is what happened still yesterday. So I managed to get to the 3,600 page mark. I think I got to 3,608 or something like that pages, and yeah, that means that I am still very much on track for finishing the Magical Readathon TBR, which I am so surprised by that, because I had not expected it at all. I do still have some 1,400 pages to go. I am gonna try to get there by the end of next week's vlog, but you know, like, no promises, because that would be more than I've been reading in every single week's vlog thus far, because it would mean that I have like a 200 page head start basically. Ideally I have that because I would love to either fit something else into this month, but I've also more frequently been thinking now that maybe I should just take a head start on the October TBR, because that's also looking quite hefty. But in any case, we will see. The main priority will be to get it done. So if I have to use those final 2 days of the month to get it done, let's do that, because I also don't want to exhaust myself reading. I've surprisingly held up under the pressure thus far, but as I was saying also to some people on my Discord, like, I can do this apparently for a month, keeping up with this pace and keeping motivated and like not falling off, but you know, like, I don't expect this to move on beyond this month. Like, if I were to try and push as hard in the month of October, I'm pretty sure that my brain will be like, nope. You know, you've put me through this for 1 month. I was like willing to put all of my effort and all of my focusing power into it for 1 month, but you're trying to get me to do that for more than that period of time. No, we don't do that. So yeah, that is going to be my conclusion for this week's vlog. I did finish a book, right? Let me talk about that. I finished Green Dot by Madeline Gray. In the end, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.75 star, but you know, the majority of this book is about an affair, which is just a topic that doesn't interest me as much. I will say that I definitely think it was very well executed. It was annoying at times because of the situation and because of this person being trapped in this situation, but I think that that's also very like real, and it definitely made me understand a little bit more the feelings of people involved in affairs. But yeah, I definitely think that it was a good book, and I did still appreciate it, despite the fact that it's not a sort of like story that typically will really speak to me a lot because of the subject matter. So I think that I gave it a high enough rating, considering that. I would love to read something else by Madeline Gray because I thought her writing was really good, and so a different subject matter might just give me like a 4.5 or a 5-star experience, because writing wise I thought it was excellent. But so yeah, with that I'm going to end this video, and yeah, let me know if you're still on track for the Magical Readathon and how you're feeling in general, because we are nearing the end of this stressful month. The month of September, even if you're not doing a William, is often quite stressful because of a return to normal office life with everybody returning, and I feel like the summer holidays are always a little bit less busy, and then everybody is like back with fresh energy in September to demand extra stuff from you. So yes, hope to see you guys for the future video. Bye!